Hello, I thought I would try something a little bit new, per the request of one of my friends, Thriller to Rain. And this is one of my stories called Zombie Ethics. It's done on the darker side of humor, but I really enjoyed writing it. It was a typical Saturday evening, and a plethora of people were out watching football games at local eateries. I was frequenting one of my most beloved restaurants. Nothing was out of the ordinary until I took a bite of the sandwich, which was so expertly made and fashioned out of love just for me. I heard words in a language I didn't understand ringing in my ears. The cells in my brain began behaving in a way which was atypical for me. I was having thoughts of enslaving others by biting them and feasting on their brains. If I ate them, I would be the only one to truly be master of all I surveyed. The thought brought a hair-splitting cackle from the pit of my stomach that was otherworldly and not truly my own. It was like I was possessed, but I felt comfortable in my own skin. "Your jaw is falling off," my comrade mentioned in horror. I merely laughed it off until I saw my own reflection on the mirrored surface of the table. My jaw had become unhinged and moved quite freely. My middle finger began to rot and ultimately fell off on my plate, which caused my friend to vomit on the floor. My beautiful friend, now ultimately horrified, had passed out from sheer terror and shock, causing others to gaze at me with shifty eyes and pointing accusing forefingers. I felt pressured by the crowd, so I ran before my urge to consume them overtook me. I wondered if there were any others like me. I knew my kind had a name because I had heard it before, particularly from B-movies. I was now a zombie, but a different kind of one. I wasn't certain on how I became this way or why I had been bestowed such a gruesome fate. It wasn't as bad as I had thought. Sure, my body parts were falling off of me, but I could always reattach them. At least now I could never die, and I felt no pain, so being living impaired was perfect. It seemed that as a zombie, my life had only become better. I met a superbly handsome goth named Victor who fell in love with my devilishly good looks. He also didn't mind to be bitten so he could remain with me for all eternity. With Halloween coming right around the corner, he wanted to marry me, which I felt was intensely romantic. Tragically, no one around us wanted to perform a civil ceremony for damnation such as ourselves. Thus we were barred from making our union official. So we tried to find a group of Wiccans who assumed we were just in the spirit for Samhain and were joined by them. We soon found an abandoned cottage in the woods and began to live comfortable lives there together as legally undead newlyweds. We soon had 2 little babies of our own, but I couldn't keep them fed. Like myself and Vic, we had a longing for brains, and none of us were satisfying that need. "You do realize I am going out, and I might not return," I said as Victor kissed me tenderly. His kisses had always been tender and loving, but there was something melancholy about these kisses he lavished me with. "Yes, my corpse bride, but I will never stop loving you. Whatever happens, you know our babies love you too, and whatever may happen, that love will remain," Victor said, passionately kissing me until I slipped from his grip and left the house. At that time, his left arm had fallen from his socket, and one of the infants began giggling in sheer delight. Vic laughed as well, recording the moment on camera. "You don't get a golden opportunity like that often," he guffawed. I winked at him and said my final farewells before leaving our sanctuary. Stomach growling and salivating slightly, I was able to get the trust of a rather dim-witted taxi driver, and I had been able to use my cunning to take his brain back home with me. But this dinner wasn't going to be enough to satiate us completely. It was a hearty, healthy brain, indeed. But we would just become hungry again, and killing in such a way was rather messy. Victor and I did give the hefty cabbie the burial he deserved before our brain lust needed to be satisfied again. Vic and I were utilitarian in our method of hunting humans. One night I would do the hunting, and the next day Vic would hunt. This operation went spectacularly until people outside the forest learned of our true nature. The next time I had gone out to hunt, I was surrounded by a mob of angry humans. Gee, this scenario isn't so cliche when it actually happens in reality, I thought to myself, noticing they had a priest with holy water and armed to the teeth with every gun on the market known to humankind. I whispered to Vic to stay inside because the human horde had come for us. We knew this day would eventually come. Even though we may possibly die today, I love you, Vic said, trying not to cry in front of me. I did not see his tears as a sign of weakness, but as strength, for I too was weeping at the thought that death had come for me. Shouldn't a zombie have rights? I protested, even though I was desperately trying to fulfill a need for my family and myself. You're dead and clearly falling apart, one human protested. I recently lost an arm and had no ability to attach it thanks to the fact that a clergyman had doused me with holy water. If anyone knows anything about the undead, holy water is dangerous to us. Our regenerative powers are nothing against his purity. Yes, but I have the ability to reason. Shouldn't that be enough to allow you to let me live out my afterlife in peace? I only ask brains in return. Should you want to join my army of the undead, I can assure you that the benefits are numerous, I said. I tried walking forward, but another holy man whacked my legs off and spritzed me in holy water, making me unable to walk. I'll bite you all, I growled. Then I heard the unholy roar of Victor and my children coming to help their pitiful mother, but it was no use. The bullets hit him first, my children second, and I was last to die. I didn't know how to explain myself in heaven when I got there, since I had committed the cardinal sin of murder many times over. I figured abominations like myself, my husband, and my beautiful children would be destined to hell, but St. Peter deliberated for a while. You are doing so out of instinct, and at least now you're not a zombie any longer, he observed. I saw my new glorified body in a crystalline lake. I'll say, hot damn, woman, Victor said, admiring me and then admiring himself, and like the typical male that he was. We all were happier than we could ever express once St. Peter unlocked the golden gates and allowed us inside paradise. Granted, we wouldn't be seeing our loved ones for a while, but to us, there was no sense of what we knew on this earth as time. We had since forgiven those who had sent us here, and honestly, we didn't care. All that mattered now is we were together in bliss, and our children were euphoric as well. The only thing I wished I could do was to tell all my friends how incredible paradise was. The problem is, I doubt they would enjoy a visitation from me in spiritual form. Humans tend to freak out at that sort of thing and believe that their minds are playing tricks on them. So we have decided to keep this story as is and allow whatever comes across it in whatever form it resides to their own conclusions. So, there.